So we're going to be hearing from George McRedmond, who is the program chairperson of our Web Application Design and Development Program. And as we go through this presentation, if you have questions, you'll see a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to type in a question, and once we complete this presentation, we will go through and make sure that we get all of them answered for you. So I would like to introduce George McRedmond.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. So I am the program chairperson for Hunter's Web Application Design and Development Program, which has been active as of 2017. So we've been running it for a number of years now. I've been a Hunter employee and a teacher at the school for the past 18 years. So our Web Application Design and Development Program is a currently day-only program for 900 hours. So that equates to about 7.5 months, which teaches primarily people with little to no background in web development, a broad range of foundational skills with the goal to get students eventually to enter the workforce. And we can take students who have a little experience. We could take students with zero experience. It's, more of a foundational type of program to cover all bases from there. Of the 900 hours, 720 of those hours are taught in our hybrid classroom setting. The final 180 hours of the total is with an externship, which if you ever heard the term internship, it's primarily the same thing. We set students up with real businesses that we've partnered with, and we've worked with new companies all the time. We work with companies for many years now, and the goal is within those 180 hours to get some real world experience under a student's belt prior to them finishing the program. And it is something that students can list on their resume as part of work experience. They can get recommendation letters through that and so on, which is something that our career services team also helps with. A lot of people sometimes wonder what actually consists of when we say web development. It's primarily anything related to an application that uses the internet. We have it broken down into really 3 major aspects, which I'll talk about now on these slides. And each student learns all of them. It isn't any really specialized portions that students can only take. They are taking the full 900 hours, which covers all topics. So even if a student does have a preference to one of these areas, it's still worth learning the full spectrum or the full stack, as we say, because it always makes you a more valuable candidate for consideration for jobs if you even understand some of the other aspects that go on in the web development world. Our first focus usually when a class starts is what's called front-end design. This is where we focus on learning how to build web pages specifically, and incorporates, though, a lot of different aspects. We learn how to build web pages both through the use of code only with foundational languages like HTML and CSS and JavaScript. We also learn how to build it using the most popular content management platform out in the world today, which is WordPress. So you get to see it from different facets. And we also bring in the front-end design towards the other components to see how all these things come together. Front-end developer is someone who focuses on structure, visual design, styling, and creativity. There's also a buzz term, and it's also a job title in some cases out in the world called UI, UX, which stands for user interface, user experience. That factors into this as well. And these are going to create, these people who are doing this sort of job out in the world, create that experience within a web browser or a graphical interface. We also talk about best practices to follow. Sometimes people say, well, I could learn this stuff off YouTube or through a website like Code Academy. A lot of those types of tools don't really tell you about how people are really doing this in the industry, or, kind of talk about the expectations of a web developer. Just the coding aspect is a big part of it, but also integrating yourself into a workforce and just the industry itself is another big part also. So we do often teach the intangibles. The little screenshots that you see at the bottom of this slide are actually projects that students have created through their experience here at Hunter. 2 of them are based on a project that we do in the classroom, and one is actually a student's personal portfolio site that they put together to help promote the job search process that we're going through. So we do a lot of class-based projects where we do things together, where I guide the students, and we do a lot of hands-on. I think by the end, we end up with somewhere from 70 to 80 projects in total. But we also take the time to let students create projects that are more student-based and student-led, and we use the student environment to showcase those projects, get some critiques from other students, and just so other students can see what other types of developers are doing out there. Another big component of our program on the next slide is what we call backend development. Backend developer is going to create the brains and logic of a website or an application. So we focus mainly on general aspects of programming with these components. Backend developers tend to be a little bit more technical and organized. They work with databases and servers and application programming interfaces, which are called APIs. And that's where we teach languages like Python and Java, database syntax like MySQL and the PHP language. And we show it where we're just doing programming alone, but we also circle back to show how these things tie into the other aspect, which is that front end. And so this is a little bit harder area to get in entry level, but as I said before, it still is helpful when it comes to making you a valuable candidate for a job to have at least a knowledge base of what goes on in the back end. Even though there is more responsibility that is required here, it's still good to know what's going on to be a full-fledged web developer. And those people with do have a little bit of experience coming in can sometimes jump more to these areas when looking for jobs, but it's a healthy dose of getting to know what's happening on the back end, even if you're focusing on more of the entry-level type positions. And the third slide here relates to a kind of a newer aspect we've incorporated in the last 3 or 4 years, which is getting into a little bit of the marketing side of things, e-commerce, which means the selling of goods and services through a web page or an application, and something called SEO, which stands for search engine optimization. This is big, especially for companies in the tri-state area, because we typically deal with mostly mid-level businesses. Company could have a great app, they could have a wonderful website, they could have a great product, but if nobody knows about it, it's still not going to do them any good. So a lot of companies that don't have the luxury of huge budgets, they do like even the person who's making their web page or handling their social media, at least be knowledgeable of the aspects of marketing and e-commerce so that, you know, they can do more or have more responsibility within the company, and hopefully build the company up to a level where they may be able to hire a specialist in those fields. So these developers, you know, create email content. They analyze user behavior. So there's some data analytics that go on when we teach this. They create content relating to promoting products, whether it's, you know, advertisements that get put into social media, managing that sort of behavior that we see when people ignore ads or click ads, or same thing with emails. And the search engine optimization is meant to help an organization maintain a strong presence on the internet through things like Google searches and, again, social media algorithms and that sort of thing as well. So we cover the entire broad spectrum. In addition to these things, we, through the classroom environment, also integrate a lot of industry-specific applications that any person with a job in this field would utilize day to day. Like, for example, Slack is one, which is a messaging app that's very standard in this industry. GitHub, which is a coding-based portfolio. We've started to integrate into more technology as the time has gone on as well, like Figma boards and project management type apps that handle like Scrum. One's called Monday.com that's actually become very popular recently. To just, you know, really in the classroom setting, still try to treat it like it would be a real job. And that's going to give you the best experience moving forward. And that's also some things that self-paced tutorials or video tutorials really can't offer, in my opinion. We currently do teach this as a day program. The program is taught with what's called hybrid learning at this point, which means if the student would like to stay remote, that is fully an option for them. We've been doing remote learning as of the shutdown of 2020 for a number of years. And then as things opened up, we were able to offer an in-person experience for any student who does want to come onto a campus and experience it that way. Students can really kind of come and go as they please when it relates to that aspect of things. There's no set schedule that they have to follow or anything like that. Although I am one person, and as I teach a majority of this program, I can only be in one of our campuses at a time. Currently, I'm working out of our Medford campus because with the new class that's starting just next week, most students that have seen or shown an interest in coming into the in-person have been more based in Suffolk County. For a student that's out of the range of those campuses, you know, we do offer the same experience to either student. We use the same tech. Even the online aspect is taught live. There's no pre-recorded aspect whatsoever. And there's so much technology built into the Google Classroom suite that we use that there's no problem with students asking questions, getting the help they need. Still offer extra help after class hours if a student needs it. The messaging app we use basically gives almost complete access to me outside of the school hours. If you do need extra help for some other stuff you're working on, it gives you the ability to catch up. If your attendance is where you miss a day here and there, it's not completely out of the realm to get yourself caught up with that technology as well. So it offers a lot of opportunity for students who prefer to stay online, prefer to be in person, or do a little bit of both, kind of pick and choose as they please. We do have a few video testimonials from students who have graduated the program recently that we'd like to show you. The first of them is actually a person who worked, I think, in the classroom at 2018. He got hired within a few months of completing the program. And actually, as of just a few weeks ago, he works for a pretty large marketing type company that does website design and analytics for local businesses here on Long Island called Hosio. He was recently promoted to be the vice president of the marketing side of that company. And he was a Hunter graduate with no prior schooling. He just took the foundation we gave him, got his foot in the door in this company, did a good job while there. And, literally within about 5 years, he was able to be promoted to be, vice president of the company. The second student who we caught right at our graduation ceremony for her testimonial, she was an online only student. So she gets a little bit of aspect of what that was like. So the first student is named Amit. We'll watch that video. And then right after that, we'll show you the other one. And I'll come back in and introduce the next portion of the presentation.
Hi, my name is Amit Singh. I'm a graduate of Hunter Business School's Web Application Design Development program. I've always had an interest in technologies and a desire to learn how to code, but I thought that maybe the time had passed me by. I ended up Googling some schools near me that were offering coding programs that weren't a four-year school, and I came and I found Hunter. What set Hunter apart from other schools was the length of the program and the topics that they covered. They went from coding in multiple languages to SEO to website design. And once I met with the Career Services Department, I knew that this was going to be the home for me. The instructors are incredible. What they taught as far as the fundamentals of programming and design are unparalleled to any other school. They helped me get a job, and now I'm a full-time web developer for a leading advertising agency on Long Island. Thank you, Hunter.
Coming to Hunter has been an amazing experience. From day one, everybody has been extremely helpful and kind and informative. From the admissions process to financial aid. First day of class was amazing. I had never done online or remote school before, and the process was smooth and informative. I learned so much. It has actually changed my life, and I'm super grateful. Thank you, Hunter.